The year is 1774. Last year was the Boston Tea Party, and all the English tea was thrown into the Boston Harbor. You've run out of English tea. What are you going to drink? Well, the American colonists, they resorted to drinking tea made from wild bergamot. So today we're going to take a look at wild bergamot and all its different names and uses. I'm the Iowa Prairie Girl, and I'm at home in my home native wildflower garden. I'm in Sarasota County, and it's the second week in July, and it is hot out here. So stay tuned as we take a look at this cool native plant, the wild bergamot. Wild bergamot has a lot of different names. One of them is Monarda. Monarda is named after a 16th century Spanish physician and botanist that studied this plant. Another name for this plant is wild bergamot. Bergamot comes from an Italian orange that this plant resembles the smell. Another name is horsemint. And to tell you the actual truth, I researched that and could not come up why it's called horsemint. This plant is in the mint family, but I couldn't find out if horses liked it or not. And then the last name that I know it by, or two more names I know it by, bee balm. And two different reasons I think that you could call it bee balm. One is that bees really like this plant, and I'm sure as we're out here today, we'll have some bees joining us. And then also you can take the leaves from this plant and pulverize them and make a poultice and put that on bee stings to soothe any kind of bee sting. And then lastly is Oswego tea, and that's the name of a Native Americans that lived in New York that drank the tea. So a lot of different names for this tea, but today I'm just going to be calling it a wild bergamot just for easy purposes. So, bergamot. Wild bergamot grows to be about 2 to 4, sometimes 5 feet tall. Its stem is square, and the leaves stay real close to the stem. The leaves grow to be about 5 inches long and about 2 inches wide. The stem and the leaf are what the fragrance comes from, and if you were to take a leaf, and this is my own garden, so I'm comfortable doing that, and if you were to rub that or crush it, you get a real a scent that's kind of citric, spicy, sweet, smells like oregano, and so that's where that scent comes from. So the flower itself is really cool. I think the flower is one of the neatest parts. The flower almost has like this rag top or this mop look to it. And actually, if we want to stick with the theme about the colonists, it also kind of looks like fireworks. So it's July, and we could say that it looks like the fireworks of the 4th of July. So they're like, the flowers have tubes, and they're tubes that grow from, they start from the center, and they start working their way out to the outside rims and almost like make like a wreath. And these tubes are real cool because that's where the nectar is, and that's where the bees come and they get the nectar out of those tubes. Also loved by butterflies, and hummingbirds love to come and get the nectar from here. Some insects that don't have a long tongue and can't get into these tubes, they actually will land on the plant and chew at the base of the flower to get the nectar out of that base. You'll often find wild bergamot growing in clumps. It's spread by rhizomes, and those runners stay together, and so you'll get this bushy appearance of bergamot coming up. It has a really showy, dense flower head, and then so when you get a group of them, it makes a real neat display. And again, it attracts those bees and butterflies and hummingbirds. Now, wild bergamot has a lot of different uses. It is edible from the stem up to the flower. Everything is edible. The Native Americans used it for just a slew of different things, from headaches and colds and coughs, antiseptics. It has antibacterial properties to it, can be used for acne. As I mentioned, it's used in teas, and it has a calming effect. It's also often used in an essential oil, and used for decreasing anxiety and stress. Can be used to lower your blood pressure and depression. So a lot of different medical uses for wild bergamot. You'll find wild bergamot in old pastures, in prairies, along roadsides, along the edges of woods. It likes sunny places. It also is used to repel mosquitoes. Apparently they don't like the smell. So this is the Iowa Prairie Girl. I'm here in my home prairie, encouraging you to get out and explore some wild places. Get out and see the wonderful things that are out there in nature. And I'll see you next time. We'll be looking at a couple more flowers that I'm looking at are the cup flower, and also, what else am I thinking about? Oh, prairie cone flowers. So we'll see you next week. It's the Iowa Prairie Girl.